Tell me, what is it you plan to do with your one wild and precious life? Wow. Mary Oliver's question, it really cuts right to it, doesn't it?
It really does. Hits deep.
And it makes me think, how often do we let the fear of what other people might think, actually write the answer to that question for us?
That's a powerful connection. It happens more than we realize, I think.
Totally.
Yeah.
So if you've ever held back from a passion project, or maybe didn't speak up at work, or even just didn't wear something you loved because you were worried.
Worried about what someone else might say or think. Yeah.
Exactly. Then this deep dive into the let them theory is definitely for you.
It sounds simple, that question, but the implications, they're huge. We often unconsciously filter everything through what we think others will judge.
Absolutely. And that's really the core of what we're digging into today. This constant worry, it's like a hidden anchor, right? It stops us really exploring our potential.
It really does. And it's pretty universal, I'd say. Even people who look like they don't care at all.
Right. They project total confidence.
Yeah, but sometimes that's, a carefully built wall. Underneath, there's often still that little voice asking, okay, but what will they say?
So our goal today is to kind of unpack this. We're going to use something called the let them theory as our main lens.
Okay.
Basically, it's about giving everyone else the freedom to have their own thoughts about you, whatever they are.
Just let them think it.
Exactly. Let them. It sounds maybe a bit blunt,
Mm-hmm.
but the potential upside is massive. We're talking real confidence, genuine self-expression.
And maybe even significant personal growth, transformation.
Yeah. So your mission, listening in, is to understand how this fear, this judgment fear, acts as a roadblock.
Mm-hmm. And to get some real practical ideas for how to start dismantling it using this let them theory.
Okay, let's dive in then. Just how big a problem is this fear of what others think? It feels like it creeps into almost everything.
Oh, it really does. I mean, think about procrastination. How often is that rooted in just being afraid your work won't be good enough, afraid of the criticism?
That's a good point. Or self-doubt. That little whisper saying, what if I mess up? What will people think then?
Exactly. And that fuels perfectionism, doesn't it? Trying to get everything just right so no one can find fault. It's often about seeking that external nod of approval.
Or avoiding disapproval, yeah. And the overthinking, oh my gosh, trying to predict every single possible reaction.
Right. Replaying conversations, worrying about how something landed. It's exhausting.
It's like we're living for this imaginary audience all the time, always trying to guess their reaction instead of just tuning into what we want.
Yeah, you're basically handing over the controls of your own life to this phantom committee of opinions. It leaves you feeling pretty powerless.
Totally powerless. So let's make this concrete for you listening. Ask yourself, what's one thing, one change you'd make right now if that fear of judgment just vanished? Poof, gone.
That's a great question. Or what's a secret hope or maybe a belief you've kept under wraps? Something you've been, I don't know, too scared to even try.
What conversation have you been dodging because you're just dreading the other person's reaction?
And as the source material puts it so well, what picture have you been waiting to post that seems small, maybe, but it says a lot?
That picture thing, yeah, it really resonates. It feels minor, but it captures exactly how this fear works, even in the little things.
It does.
Now, the source we're drawing from shares a really relatable story about this. The author's early days as a motivational speaker. Can you walk us through that?
Yeah, absolutely. It's such a clear example of how deep this runs, even when you're, actively chasing a dream. So she's starting out putting in massive effort.
Right, the grind phase.
Totally. Speaking for free, holding down a full-time job, dealing with debt, doing all the things. And after a year of this, audiences are growing, gigs are coming in, but
the money wasn't following.
exactly. No real financial return. It's a common struggle, but still frustrating.
For sure. So what did she do?
Well, she did the smart thing. She asked for advice from people who'd been there, done that, experienced speakers.
And what did they say? Let me guess. Website testimonials.
You got it. Build a website, get those testimonials, and the big one. Start posting about your speaking online. Use social media for marketing.
Standard advice today, really. It's how you build visibility. Show, don't just tell.
Precisely. It's the playbook.
Yeah.
But here's where that fear kicks in hard. Even though she knew what to do, she hesitated.
Okay.
And that hesitation wasn't just for a week or two. It stretched into 2 years before she really consistently started posting about her work online.
Wow. 2 years. That's a long time to delay something potentially crucial for her career. What was holding her back so strongly?
Pure fear of judgment, specifically from her friends and family. her inner circle.
Ah, okay, so not strangers, but the people closest to her.
Right. She worried they'd think she was being, like, arrogant or maybe unprofessional or even a phony. Like, who does she think she is?
I can picture that internal battle. Drafting a post, feeling that knot of anxiety about the likes, the comments, maybe negative comments.
Yes. And then just deleting it over and over. That cycle of wanting to share, then shrinking back because of that fear.
Oh, so relatable. I think many of us have been there in some way.
Absolutely. And the impact was real. It wasn't just feelings. It actively slowed down her business growth, pushed back her financial goals. She definitely missed opportunities.
Yeah, it's a clear reminder that this fear isn't just in our heads. It has tangible consequences.
Exactly. And it makes you think, where else might you be censoring yourself? In your job, your art, maybe just how you dress or what you say, all because of that same worry.
It's a really potent example.
Yep.
Okay, so let's pivot to the core idea of this let them theory. What's the absolute bedrock principle here?
Okay, the fundamental truth is this, and it's kind of stark. You cannot control what another adult thinks, period.
Right.
So pouring energy into fearing their thoughts, or worse, trying to manage their thoughts, it's just wasted effort, like trying to, I don't know, grab smoke.
It sounds so simple and logical when you put it like that, yet
Yeah.
we still get so tangled up in it.
We really do. Our brains are wired for social stuff, sure. But
Mhm.
the reality check is the average person has something like 70,000 thoughts a day. 70,000.
Wow, that many.
Yeah, and most are random, fleeting, totally uncontrollable. You can barely control your own thoughts half the time, right?
True.
So the idea you can somehow dictate someone else's internal chatter, it's just not based in reality. Our source calls it out plainly.
So the theory isn't just accepting you can't control it, but almost leaning into that lack of control.
Exactly. That's the surprising twist. It suggests you should almost assume some people will have negative thoughts about you.
Okay, that sounds uncomfortable.
A little counterintuitive, maybe, but by just acknowledging upfront, okay, some people might think X, Y, or Z, and that's okay, I can't control it, you kind of disarm the fear. It loses its power over you.
Take the weapon away before it can be used against you, sort of.
Kind of, yeah. And speaking of thoughts, the source gets surprisingly personal here, sharing examples of, negative thoughts we all have, even about people we love dearly.
Right. That part felt really honest and kind of normalizing, actually.
Totally normalizing. The author talks about fleeting irritations, her husband's habits, the dog being annoying at dinner, thinking critical things about her kids' choices.
Like the daughter being a control freak, or another being maybe not great with money, or her son being rude sometimes.
Exactly. Real, everyday, human moments. And then she flips it and shares what her kids think about her. Messy, disorganized, loud.
Huh, yeah. It shows that idea that two things can be true at once, doesn't it?
Perfectly. You can love someone deeply and still have a passing critical thought. One doesn't cancel out the other.
And recognizing that in ourselves makes it easier to accept that others might have those fleeting thoughts about us. It's just human.
It is. We've all had those thoughts about people we care about, their quirks, their decisions.
Right.
It doesn't mean you don't love them. It just means you have a brain that thinks things.
So knowing these thoughts are normal, even towards loved ones, really takes the sting out of worrying that others have them about us.
It absolutely does. It reframes those potential negative opinions. They're not some huge catastrophe. They're just part of the background noise of being human, not necessarily a reflection of your worth.
Okay, so we understand the lack of control. We understand negative thoughts are normal. How do we harness this? How does it become this liberating power the theory talks about?
Well, it comes back to realizing that when you're constantly trying to manage opinions, you limit yourself, you avoid things, you play small.
What, you build this cage for yourself made of what-ifs.
Exactly. The let them theory helps you shift your focus away from desperately seeking external validation.
Like collecting gold stars from everyone.
Yeah, and towards aligning with your own internal values. What makes you feel proud? Acting from that place, regardless of the reaction.
So it's about reclaiming control, in a way. Instead of being pushed around by fear of what others think, you navigate by your own compass.
That's it, perfectly.
Yeah.
It encourages you to look honestly at where that fear is stopping you. What new thing have you not tried? What risk have you avoided? What part of your true self are you hiding?
Okay. But it's important to clarify, this isn't a license to just be a jerk, right?
Mhm.
It's not about completely disregarding other people's feelings.
Oh, absolutely not. That's a
Yeah.
crucial point. It's not about becoming selfish or trampling on relationships. It's about finding a balance.
Okay.
And the source has another great story here, this really hectic weekend. There's a friend's birthday party, and the author's grandparents are visiting.
Oof. Scheduling nightmare potential right there.
Totally. So she goes to great lengths to do both. Drives a lot, loses sleep, tries to make everyone happy, basically.
Trying to be superwoman.
Pretty much. And guess what? Despite bending over backward,
Let me guess. Someone was still unhappy.
both sides, the birthday friend felt she left the party too early, and her mom was disappointed she missed the exact moment the grandparents arrived.
Ugh. That just proves it, doesn't it?
Yeah.
You literally cannot please everyone no matter how hard you try.
Exactly. You can exhaust yourself trying and still face criticism or disappointment. So the key takeaway wasn't don't try to honor commitments. It was about the motivation.
Okay, so what should the motivation be?
It should come from your own sense of pride, your alignment with your values. Are you acting in a way you respect? Rather than acting just to get approval or, maybe more commonly, to avoid someone else's disapproval or guilt tripping.
Ah, avoiding guilt. That's a big driver too.
Huge! So in that weekend story, the point wasn't just making the friend or mom happy. It was about the author feeling she acted with integrity, honoring her relationships as best she could in a tough situation.
Right, so she could look back and say, okay, maybe they weren't thrilled, but I feel okay about the effort I made based on my values.
Precisely. When your actions come from a place that makes you feel proud, you are in control. Their opinion is, well, just their opinion. You can stand by your choice because it felt right to you.
That shifts the power dynamic completely. From seeking external validation to cultivating internal integrity. I like that.
It's a game changer.
Okay, so as we start to wrap this up, what's the main message, the core takeaway we want you, the listener, to hold on to from this deep dive?
It really boils down to this. You cannot control what other people think. You just can't. So it's time to try and release that huge amount of mental energy you've been spending worrying about it.
Let it go.
Let it go and embrace this let them theory. Not as an excuse to be careless, but as a tool. A tool for real, genuine liberation, freedom.
It's about turning your focus inward, right? Away from all that external noise and onto your own internal compass. What makes you proud? What aligns with your values?
Yes. Stop letting the fear of judgment steer your ship. Steer it yourself. Live that one wild and precious life based on what matters to you.
Love it. Okay, final thought then. Something for you to really chew on after this. Just take a moment and consider the sheer volume of energy, the time, the mental loops you've spent trying to guess, manage, or worry about what other people think of you.
It's probably a lot for most of us.
Probably huge.
Yeah.
So what could you actually achieve? What dream could you chase? What step could you take if you redirected even just some of that energy towards your own life, your own goals?
That's the real question.
So we encourage you, find one small thing, just one step you can take, maybe even today, where you consciously apply this. Let them think whatever they're going to think. You go do the thing that makes you proud.